Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, Rays, and today we're going to be talking about basically everything. I'm compressing a lot of Wotv stuff down to approximately one video, and my hair is very messy, I'm just noticing. Great. The reason that I am compressing this all down to one video is because there really isn't that much to talk about this week, but let's get into it. First of all, with Global, I don't think that there is too much. You guys are getting a little bit of story, you are getting a new free welfare unit. Crisis. A little bit of a change name. In terms of what I think of her, she's a free unit. Go for it. Really what you want to think about is whether you want to spend the resources on her or on another type of unit. Overall, I was really impressed with her early. It was pretty easy to get all of her shards. Since then, I think I've leaned a little bit more on other units, but I think that if you are like an Xmas, Winter Victoria user, then there is some good synergy here. There's also, if you already have the other two, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Definitely get the character, get the shards, but you don't really need to rush this character, I wouldn't think. But she's a free unit, and she's something to, work towards this week, and that's pretty good. All right, then to talk about the other thing that Global is getting this week, the Malarith Dancing, or Marlith. Really? I always thought it was, man, my brain must auto. Anyway, to talk about this vision card and summon, it's a fine vision card and summon. One of the big deals about this summon is the fact that it does actually, work with fire elemental characters, which is something that I feel like has been in pretty short supply. She is a good enough summon, but I would recommend waiting. If you're looking for a new fire summon, I kind of like this one a little bit more because it synergizes with some of the more fire defensive things that come along with fire elemental characters, looking to the future like Lord Mont or Larudo. I think this is a much better fire Esper if you're really looking to throw your resources somewhere. I mean, and it's a low tier card, so you can get it plenty of opportunities in the future. With the 1 year anniversary quickly approaching too, I just don't think that this is the time to spend resources at all. But I'm sure someone in the comments will be like, but I'm going to. Good for you. All right. That's all that I want to talk about in terms of Global. Talking about the future stuff, JP is just continuing on its merry little way with a little bit of story updates, some tie-ins with FF1 collaboration, specifically with the guild statues, as well as something else. Like, this is the one that I'm specifically thinking of. But really, it's just farm at the moment, and it's kind of a low-key week here on the JP side. One of the biggest things is the selection quest, which is a brand new limited way of using characters to get a character. So the first one is light elemental, meaning that you do need to use only light elemental characters who are below the UR tier. So SSR, or for Globalers, MR and lower. And Globalers, you might want to start thinking about developing some of these lower tier characters. Specifically, we got two here that are just really good overall, and I think are worth it. From what I've heard about the difficulty of the selection quest, yeah, you need some pretty highly developed characters. I've heard that people with pretty good teams of like 5 even, that number 7, battle mission number 7 is where the autoing stops, because there is some dirty tricks there with catapults that can easily kill off your team and the autoed. So there is some challenge to be had there, and I do think you will need to raise at least somewhat these characters, which is going to be, a little bit costly. But thankfully, we can take a quick peek at the prize for doing this, Camilo, and whether or not he's even worth it. Camilo, tomato, potato. All right. Because there is a friend unit version here, so we can see At level 120, he has about 6,000 HP, about 1,300 attack, 86 speed, 300 dexterity, 300 luck, move of 3, jump of 5, and a spirit of 20, and a defense of 8. Now, if you're wondering what I think about this character in terms of how good he is, first of all, not having a limit burst is a big problem. Limit bursts are one of the things that really separates characters out and give them a unique identity. And here, he just doesn't have one, and he probably will never get one because he is a free unit, which is disappointing, but in the future, I'm sure another version of him that is, costly, or, well, will appear in the gacha, and that will probably have a limit burst. So fans of him, you'll just have to wait for that. Taking a look at his resistance, minus 10% for spear, minus 10% for fists, 25% for shooting, and 20% for magic, which kind of makes sense. His master ability does allow him to get a little bit more protection against mages. Big thing, I think, though, is his TMR. His TMR is probably the thing that I would recommend getting if you're going to get this unit, because increase light attack by 25 for 3 turns for allies, and increase accuracy by 20 for 3 turns to allies. That's the really big deal here. I mean, yes, his master ability supports other light units, and that is always good. But the TMR being able to increase light attack is pretty valuable for units that use light element, and there's a lot. There's Sakura, there's Yuna, there's a good amount of light characters at this point. So the TMR, if nothing else, is worth it. Taking a look at his skills, pretty much, I mean, like, his main job, he has a lot of the stuff to do with dragoons and jumps. He has, I do believe, horizontal jump, he has vertical jump, he has dragoon jump, he has all of that kind of stuff at an attack increase. Taking a look at his sniper, he has the decreased agility, he has chance to inflict disable, he can give, what's it called? Esper Killer, break physical barrier to target, so he has a lot of stuff that is available in Sniper. And taking a look at Fighter, he does have, a few more in defensive, but really, I think taking a look at this unit, you're probably just going to want to run him with Sniper and Dragoon, giving him range on his stuff. He has good mobility in his move and jump. So yeah, I think he's a perfectly fine unit for a welfare unit, especially a UR tier welfare unit, but definitely, I want to break that word from my vocabulary. I don't think that he's anything too special, and I don't think he's anything worth stressing about trying to get right away. His attack is a little bit lower than some of the other URs, but again, he is a free unit. His HP is even a little bit lower, but I think he has some good passives to potentially compensate for that. And he can be potentially, a little bit of a defensive unit with some good range on him. But the other thing to remember about this unit's cost is the fact that you do have to develop a bunch of lower tier units for a specific quest to get him, and enough stuff to get him to level 120, and then you have to pour resources into him. It's a lot of resourcing these selection quests. Based on what I've seen, it seems that if you want to play the selection quest, from what I've heard, you are going to have to develop a fair amount of lower tier light units, and then you're just going to have to pour more resources in. So is it really worth it? Maybe over the long run, I don't see any harm, but if you're trying to rush it down and you haven't the stuff developed, I don't think that it's entirely worth it. Yeah. So that's basically my thoughts on Camilo. I think he is a fine enough unit for a welfare unit, but the cost of trying to get him up to being good enough might be a little bit high, just because you gotta invest job points, you gotta invest experience, you gotta invest a lot of stuff into lower tier units that are just for these selection quests, potentially some other stuff. But for the most part, that is where you are spending a lot of resources. And if there are more selection quests in the future, selection quests being limited by element is a bad thing. I do think it is a bad thing, because it's just a lot that you're going to have to invest into a lot of lower tier units instead of a lot of higher tier units. And I don't think that is very good in this game where resources are still fairly limited, unless, you know, the producers want to up our resources per month, but I think globalers are starting to find out that some of the resources are going down so that those anniversary specials can seem a little bit better. Anyway, controversy aside, talking about Warrior of Light's EX, I did want to touch on this a little bit since his data has since come up, since his data has come up on Wotv Calc. I did take a look at him versus, you know, new UR high quality Mont. Where is he? Just so I can show him off. This guy. Taking a look at his stats versus Warrior of Light, they're remarkably similar. Actually, Mont has more attack, but that doesn't really matter. At this point, I'm pretty much willing to say that Warrior of Light is just a better defensive tank. For not only physical, but magical as well. That kind of also happened. And taking a look at Mont is just better because of the status effect that he can cause with his limit burst. And not only that, but I think that in terms of his auto hate generation that also ups his agility, which is really useful, his movement capabilities. I would say that between the two of them, both are really good for different reasons, and I wouldn't necessarily give a advantage to one or the other. Maybe a little bit for Warrior of Light, since he could probably at this point pass as a better magic tank. So if you come up against a magic boss, well, you're just kind of covered either way. And yeah, so, but if you can't get Warrior of Light, I think, and you do get Lord Mont, I think that's good enough. And if you know, it's vice versa for you, then Warrior of Light will be great too. So anyway, that's my update. That's all I got to say, and hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it insightful, and I'll see you all next time.